Okay, so we're up to chapter 35. Chapter 36 is just a genealogy, and we'll go through that quite quickly at the end. And Elohim said to Yaakov, "Arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make an altar there to El, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau, your brother." Okay, go and do the thing that you vowed that you were going to do. Let's forget all of this Shechem nonsense. Go and do what you said that you would do when you vowed to me. And we've got this really fascinating verse. It says, "And Yaakov said to his household and to all who were with him." Oh, it's interesting. So we've got two groups here. We've got Yaakov's household, and we've got those who are with Yaakov's household. So we've got Israel and those who are grafted into Israel. "Put away the foreign gods," and the word for foreign is nekar. When we looked at the stranger, we looked at the word zar, and that's kind of to be strange and almost like forbidden, to be illegal. And we had the nokri as well, and that was somebody who is literally just a foreigner from another land. So what's being referred to here isn't strange gods, it's foreign gods, gods of the other people. I find this fascinating, this concept of gods, foreign gods to us. We've looked many times before at the idea of what an idol is, and that an idol or a strange god is something that you set up before Yehovah. Again, the idea of whatever you're overcome by, you are the servant of. Okay, Yehovah is no longer your Elohim, you're the servant of whatever this other thing is. And I want to show you a clip again of that guy, Jordan Peterson. Not because I think that his theology is brilliant or anything, it's because I think what he says about foreign gods and what gods actually are is fascinating.
We're very complicated creatures, and we're run by all sorts of very strange things down there in the unconscious, you know. And the Greeks thought we were the playthings of the gods because we serve lust, we serve thirst, we serve hunger, we serve rage, you know, and those things all transcend us. So that's why they were gods. You know, rage, that's the war god. Well, why is it a god? Well, it exists forever. It exists in all people. It takes them over and directs their behavior. It's a god.
These things are gods, okay? And they are literally the gods of the ancient people. Rage and lust and things like that. If you serve those things, you are actually serving foreign gods, literally foreign gods that people in the past used to serve. We tend to think of people with statues to Moloch and all of that nonsense as, well, that's what it is, or statues to Baal, serving foreign gods. But that's not what it is. To serve another god that is whatever overcomes you. And all of those things were thought of as gods in the past. And when we serve those things now, we are literally serving another god. So it starts and says, put away the foreign gods that are among you. Step one, make Yehovah your Elohim, which is to submit to him, to be overcome by Yehovah in all things. Not when something else comes up, you know, one of those gods, you know, lust. If people have got addictions to pornography, okay, all you're doing is you're serving lust. You're serving another god. Okay, you're not making Yehovah your Elohim, because he's your Elohim up until the point at which the God which is actually in control of you takes control. So Yaakov said to his household and all who were with him, Israel and those grafted in, put away the foreign gods that are among you. And he says, cleanse yourselves. So first step, get rid of all of those drivers in your life which are causing you to do things contrary to the word. And then he says, cleanse yourselves. 2 Corinthians 7 verse 1, having then these promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all defilement of the flesh and spirit. Okay, let's do that. How do we do that? How would a young man cleanse his path? Good question. To guard it according to your word. So your first step is you put away the foreign gods, those things which are driving you to do other things, and you make the primary direction in your life, the one that determines where you go, you make that Yehovah. And then once you've made that Yehovah, you begin to learn his word. You begin to learn who he is and what he expects of you. And you cleanse your way by changing yourself according to the word. But the first step in that has to be putting away the foreign gods, putting away the things that might make you do something contrary to the word. If you haven't put those away and you haven't submitted to Yehovah, you won't be able to do the step of cleansing yourself. Isaiah 1:15-16 says, and when you spread out your hands, I hide my eyes from you. Even though you make many prayers, I do not hear. Your hands have become filled with blood. Wash yourselves, make yourselves clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Stop doing evil. That's how you cleanse yourself, to guard yourself according to his word, or guard his word. Stop doing what is evil. James says something similar when he says, so then subject yourselves to Elohim, submit yourselves to Elohim. The first step, put away the foreign gods, make Yehovah Elohim. Resist the devil and he shall flee from you. Okay, all of those foreign gods, all of those drivers that the devil, that Hasatan comes to and tries to tempt you with and says, make this your God. Don't you want this? Yeah, Yehovah's word says not to do that. However, do you not desire that? And then because of what's within us, we are tempted and we are led astray. So we've got to submit ourselves to Elohim, the other side of which is to resist the temptations that come to us, that make us want to make something else God. Draw near to Elohim and he shall draw near to you. Cleanse hands, sinners. Cleanse the heart, you double-minded. Exactly the same. Put away the foreign gods and cleanse yourself. So Yaakov says to Israel and those grafted into Israel, put away the foreign gods that are among you, cleanse yourselves according to his word, change your garments. Okay, change your garments. The scriptures talk often throughout them of the things in which we are overcome by, or the things in which we are involved, as us wearing them like garments. Isaiah 59:17 says he puts on righteousness as a breastplate and a helmet of deliverance on his head. He puts on garments of vengeance. That's what he's wearing. Psalm 109:18, and he clothed himself with cursing as with a garment. Okay, so we can clothe ourselves with whatever we're involved in. You know, if you bang into reading books, clothe yourself in reading books. I don't know, I should have thought of a better example. But you clothe yourself in the things in which you're involved in. Isaiah 64:6, all of us have become as one unclean, and all our righteousnesses are as soiled garments. Okay, and this hearkening back to the idea that if we come before Yehovah, is he pleased if we come with the things that he asks, but we do it with the sin at the same time? Okay, all the righteousnesses that we do are as soiled garments. Why? Well, in Zechariah 3:4 it says, and he answered and spoke to those who stood before him, saying, remove the filthy garments from him. And to him he said, see, I have removed your guilt. Okay, the filthy garments referenced there are their guilt. So you can do righteousnesses, but if you're doing it at the same time as you're wearing your guilt for the other things that you're doing, they're soiled garments, they're defiled. I've put costly robes on you. I've taken away your guilt. I've put the costly robes on you. Job 29:14 says, I put on righteousness and it clothed me. Judgment was my cloak and turban. Okay, so we can be clothed in bad things, can be clothed in defiled things, but we're to change our garments. Okay, we're to start doing things like righteousness and judgment and trustworthiness. Let your priests put on righteousness and kind ones shout for joy. So we're to change our garments, take off that nonsense and put on good garments that are based in truth. Righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and trustworthiness the girdle of his waist. These are things that we can be said to wear according to the scriptures. I greatly rejoice in Yehovah, my soul exults in my Elohim, for he has put garments of deliverance, salvation on me, garments of Yeshua on me. He has covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bride decks himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorns herself with jewels. Okay, so you can see how these things are put on us as adornments, or as clothing, as garments. Revelation 19:7-8, let us be glad and rejoice and give him praise, for the marriage of the Lamb has come. His wife prepared herself, and to her it was given to be dressed in fine linen. Okay, well, that's a metaphor we can understand, to be dressed in fine linen. Clean and bright, for the fine linen is the righteousnesses of the set apart ones, of the holy ones, those who are set apart to Yehovah. Their righteousnesses are what they are clothed in. So, to put it all together, to Israel and those grafted into Israel, put away the foreign gods that are among you, those things which would cause you to sin against Elohim, those things which you elevate above Yehovah in the moment. Okay, oh, I'm all about Yehovah, I'm going about my life, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Then I'll come to something which I desire to do more. And now, because I desire to do it more, I fall to that thing. I become overcome by that thing and become the servant of that thing. Put away that from you. Then you can cleanse yourself according to his word. Because if you try to cleanse yourself according to his word before you've made him Elohim above all of those things, it won't work. It'll work for a time, and then you'll come to something, and that'll be more important than his word. So you'll become defiled again. Cleanse yourselves and change your garments. Put off all of that filth from off you that you've clothed yourself in for so long, and change your garments to things like righteousness and trustworthiness and truth and justice. And let us arise and go up to Bethel, and let me make an altar there to El. Remember that we can see the things that this is pointing to in this story, but this is actually a physical thing that happened as well. Yaakov was living in the land. Dinah went out with the daughters of the land. She was associating with the people of the world. She ends up sleeping with somebody outside of marriage. And we've got all of the nonsense that happened at Shechem. But when Yaakov is actually told, no, go and do what you've actually said that you'll do now. Yehovah, he says to the people who are with him, he says, okay, put away the foreign gods that are among you, because he knows that his household have foreign gods among them. He says, cleanse yourselves, because they need that. Change your garments. These people that he's been dwelling with, he's just been allowing to be in this state. And then he says, and let us arise and go up to Bethel, and let me make an altar to El, who answered me in the day of my distress, and has been with me in the way which I've gone. And this word is actually the word for when it says Jacob's trouble. It's Jacob's distress, or his sarah, okay, a future fulfillment of that. Has been with me in the way which I have gone. So this is Yaakov now deciding, okay, no, Elohim has been with me, so I'm going to go and fulfill my vow to him. So they gave Yaakov all the foreign gods which were in their hands, and all their earrings which were in their ears. That's bizarre, isn't it? Yaakov hid them under the terebinth tree which was near Shechem. And they departed, and the fear of Elohim was upon the cities. And you think, well, how can the fear of Elohim be on the cities? Well, did they all start worshipping Elohim? Well, the word is chitah, and it's a word that's only used once in Scripture. It's not like the fear of Elohim is the beginning of wisdom. It's kind of like a fear which is put on them by Elohim, rather than a fear that they have of Elohim, that were all around them and did not pursue the sons of Yaakov. But this idea, he took all their earrings which were in their ears. I thought, why is he taking the earrings that are in their ears? Wearing earrings, that's not a problem. And then I thought, well, do we see this anywhere else in the Scripture? What is this that they're actually doing at the moment? Exodus 32, verse 5, Yehovah said to Moshe, say to the children of Israel, you are a stiff-necked people. Should I go up in your midst for one moment? I shall consume you. And now take off your ornaments, and I shall know what to do to you. So the children of Israel took off their ornaments. Okay, so what we see is that this is actually an action which accompanies repentance. When we repent before him, we're to come before him in sackcloth and ashes. We're to make ourselves low before him. So what they're doing is they're putting away the foreign gods, and they're taking off their ornaments, just like the children of Israel did here when they were going after the golden calf. Now in Brenton's, in Genesis 55:4, where it talks about their earrings, I thought, let's see what's actually going on, because is it their earrings? Because I'd not really thought through it at that point. And indeed, it's their earrings in Brenton's as well. It says they gave to Jacob the strange gods which were in their hands, and the earrings which were in their ears. But it says that Jacob did something different. It says in Hebrew that he took them and put them under the terebinth tree. Here it says Jacob hid them under the turpentine tree, the closest that they've got, which is in Shechem, and destroyed them to this day. I don't really know what to make of this, because the Greek's really weird here. When it says destroyed them to this day, actually what it really says is he destroyed them to this day, daylight. That's kind of literally what it says. I include this to make the point that the Septuagint is translated from an older Hebrew text. And sometimes it's going to take what the Hebrew text does, and it's just going to render it in a certain way. And we are just left basically to wonder, what did the original Hebrew say? Because this doesn't seem to be what the original Hebrew says. I'm sure that there was more meaning in this. But he took them, took the earrings, took the strange gods that are in their hands, put them under the tree, and then destroyed them to this day. It's bizarre. Yaakov came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all the people who were with him. And he built there an altar and called the place El Bethel, because there Elohim appeared to him when he fled from the face of his brother. Okay, so now we've had Yaakov going through all of this, going into exile in Laban's land, and coming face to face with who he was in Laban, and him coming back, and him wrestling with God. And then even after all that, he goes off to Shechem. He's still like, oh, I'll go off and I'll live in the world. And then that's got these terrible consequences for him. And it's only actually at this point that he builds the altar that he said, where he actually pays the vows, just like us with the vows that we've made to Yehovah to keep his Torah. This is interesting because of the verse that comes next from this. Devorah, Rivka's nurse, and in the Septuagint, this is the word pedagogos, which will become relevant, as you'll see, died. And she was buried below Bethel under the terebinth tree. So the name of it was called Alon Bachuth. What a strange thing to mention here. I mean, Yaakov is, I don't know how old he is at this point, between 70 and 100 years old. And he's still got his nurse with him. That's just bizarre. But if we look at the Greek that's behind this, the pedagogos, we can see what's actually going on here. Because if we take this word, pedagogos, which is this, tutor, guardian, guide of boys, okay? That's how it's used in the New Testament. If we look where it's used in the New Testament, we can see what's really going on with Yaakov here, who's finally come to the point where he pays his vows to Elohim. Therefore, the Torah became our pedagogos unto Messiah in order to be declared right by belief. And after belief has come, we're no longer under a pedagogos. Once we come to belief, now remember that the Galatians, they weren't following the Torah. And Paul isn't saying, okay, you had the Torah before, but now you've got Messiah, you don't follow the law, because they never had the Torah in the first place. He's saying the Torah became our trainer or our schoolmaster to lead us to Messiah. Because what the Lord does is it shows us that we're sinful, and it shows us that before Elohim, we haven't got any chance. Okay? Especially if we know the power of death is over us because of our sin. We need Messiah. But in order to understand that we need Messiah, we need to know the Torah and what that declares about us. So it's a trainer, a schoolmaster, a pedagogos unto Messiah. After belief has come, and we looked at what belief is, what real faith is actually doing it, not just saying, I believe in God. After belief's come, we're no longer under a trainer, under a pedagogos, under a nanny or a nurse. We don't need that anymore to show us Messiah. We do need it to live by. Of course, we don't say, oh, we've seen how sinful we are. This is great now, though, because we've got Messiah and we can just continue being sinful. It's not what Paul is saying. But if you think of the circumstances in which this happened in Yaakov's life, okay, finally he does what he said that he'll do after all of this nonsense which has led him to this point. And then what happens after he's truly come to belief, after he's truly doing these things? Then his pedagogos dies. And it's the same thing for us. Then what happens? Then Elohim appeared to Yaakov again when he came from Padan Aram and blessed him. Okay, what happens? He does what he's vowed to do. Then what happens? Elohim comes and blesses him. Elohim said to him, your name Yaakov, your name is no longer called Yaakov, but Yisrael is your name. Sometimes you're going to see where it repeats a name or a word from the end of the line to the beginning of the next line. No idea why it does that. But Yisrael is your name. So he called this name Yisrael. This is important for us. It says literally, your name, Yaakov, your name is no longer called Yaakov. Because as I've spoken about, there's a difference between calling someone's name something and then actually being that thing. Okay, you can call yourself a Torah keeper, but if you're not actually a Torah keeper, that label doesn't mean anything at all. So Yehovah says to him, look, no longer is your name, are you going to be referred to as Yaakov, which means heel grabber. He says that the reason why not is because Yisrael is his name. So he called his name Yisrael. This is who you are. So this is how people are going to refer to you, is what he's saying to him. Go back to Esav. Esav said, is it because called his name Yaakov, literally what it says, that he does catch me by the heel these 2 times? So he's saying, look, he's called Yaakov. Is that why he's decided to go and catch me by the heel these 2 times? Okay, he's got the causation the other way around in this case. He's saying, look, Yaakov's like taken his name and acted in accordance with it, rather than him acting in a way and then getting a name that's in accordance with his behavior. Genesis 17:5, we see the same thing. No longer is your name called Avram, but your name has been Abraham, because I have made you a father of many nations. It's this future perfect tense being used again here. Okay, you have been a father of a multitude in the future, because I've made you a father of many nations in the future. So no longer are you going to be called Avram. You're not going to be called exalted father. You're going to be called father of a multitude, because I've done this in your life, or through your descendants. Genesis 17:15, Elohim said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, do not call her name Sarai, for Sarah is her name. Okay, don't call her something that she's not, in other words. She's not princess, she's noblewoman, whatever people think these names mean, because it's very difficult to get a very precise definition for what these names mean. Exodus 6:2-3, and Elohim spoke to Moshe and said to him, I am Yehovah. I appeared to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov as El Shaddai. By my name, Yehovah, I was not known to them. They called him Yehovah, but he wasn't known to them by that name, because Yehovah means a very particular thing, and El Shaddai means a very particular thing. In Revelation 4:8-9, it says, and the 4 living creatures, each having 6 wings, were covered with eyes around and within. They do not cease day or night, saying, set apart, set apart, set apart, holy, 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 Yehovah El Shaddai. And then what they say next is Yehovah's name. They declare who he is, who was, who is, and who is coming. Asher Heya V'Hovei V'Yavo, the contraction of which is Yehovah. Yehovah, who was, who is coming. They also say El Shaddai, and they continue after declaring what Yehovah's name is, as in who he is, to have that name, be called that name. When the living creatures give esteem and respect and thanks to him who sits on the throne, El Shaddai, God Almighty. So Asher Haya V'Hovei V'Yavo, he who sits on the throne, is what Yehovah El Shaddai means. Revelation 11:16-17 says, and the 24 elders sitting before Elohim on their thrones fell on their faces and worshipped Elohim, saying, we give thanks, O Yehovah El Shaddai, the one Asher Haya V'Hovei V'Yavo, the one who is, who was, and who is coming, because you've taken your great power, Yehovah, who is, who was, who is coming. El Shaddai, your great power. They declare his name, they declare what he's called, and then they declare who he is. Revelation 16:5-7. I heard the angel of the waters saying, you are righteous, O Yehovah, Asher Haya V'Hovei V'Yavo, because you have judged these. Because they have shed the blood of the set-apart ones and prophets, and you have given them blood to drink, for they deserve it. I heard another out of the altar saying, yes, Yehovah, who he's just declared who he is. Yes, Yehovah, El Shaddai, true and righteous are your judgments, speaking of his power, speaking of him sitting on the throne, making those judgments. Revelation 15 verse 3 says, and they sing the song of Moshe, the servant of Elohim, and the song of the Lamb, saying, great and thaumastos. Okay, wonderful are your works, Yehovah El Shaddai. Righteous and true are your ways, O King of the set apart ones. They're declaring his name. Okay, his name is marvelous. His name is wonderful. His name's thaumastos. His name is Pili. Isaiah 62, 1-4 says, for Zion's sake, I'm not silent, and for Yerushalayim's sake, I do not rest, until her righteousness goes forth as brightness, and her deliverance as the lamp that burns. And the nations have seen your righteousness, and all sovereigns your esteem. And he is giving you a new name, which the mouth of Yehovah names. So he's going to give Yerushalayim, the city, a new name, which he is going to say what it is called. You shall be a crown of comeliness in the hand of Yehovah, and a royal headdress in the hand of your Elohim. No longer are you called Azab, forsaken, and no longer is your land called Shemamah, deserted, but you have been called Chefsivah, and your land Be'ulah. Okay? You've been called this. You've been called my delight is in her. You've been called, your land has been called married because Yehovah has delighted in you, and your land is married. This is a very interesting word, and this is a very interesting word. Be'ulah comes from the word Baal. Essentially what it's saying is, your land is going to be called Baal. And your land is Baal, is what it says. I mean, the vowels are different, but that's just how Hebrew works. The root word is Baal. People get so caught up in these things and go, oh, you can't call him Lord. Baal means Lord. Well, yes, Baal means Lord. It also means master. Adonai means master. It also means Lord. And so people change things and go, oh, we won't call him Lord anymore. We'll call him master. It's just a word. And in fact, it's what the land is going to be called. Ezekiel 48:35 says, all around 18,000 cubits, and the name of that city from that day is Yehovah Shema. From that day, the name is Yehovah Shema, which means Yehovah is there. And interestingly, when you look at the vowel points of the words Yehovah Shema, the vowel points are there to make it Yehovah. It means Yehovah is there. The reason that the name of that city is going to be something and not is going to be called something is because Yehovah is actually going to be there from that day forward. So the name that it actually is Yehovah Shema. Revelation 2:16-17 says, repent, or else I come to you speedily and fight against them with the sword of my mouth. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the assemblies. To him who overcomes, okay, overcomes what overcomes you, okay, the things that you are servant of, I shall give some of the hidden manna to eat, and I shall give him a white stone, and on the stone a new name written, which no one knows except him who receives it. And it's not actually clear whether everyone gets their own new name or whether everybody who receives the name knows what the name is. But we're given a new name in accordance with our character then. Just like Abraham, just like Sarah, just like Yaakov, we're given new names because they were different people. At this point, we will have new names. Revelation 3:10-12 says, because you have guarded my word of endurance, I also shall guard you from the hour of trial which will come upon all the world to try those who dwell on the earth. See, I am coming speedily. Hold what you have, that no one take your crown. He who overcomes, I shall make him a supporting pillar in the dwelling place of my Elohim, and he shall by no means go out. I shall write on him the name of my Elohim and the name of the city of my Elohim, the new Yerushalayim, which comes down out of heaven from my Elohim, and my new name. But again, it's in accordance with who we are at that point, who the new Yerushalayim is at that new point. Revelation 14 verse 1 says, "And I looked and saw a lamb standing on Mount Zion, with him 144,000, having his father's name written on their foreheads." What does that mean? We're going to have Yehovah written on our foreheads? No, it's his character. Okay, to have something written on you, have something written on your heart is to do it. Okay, to have it written on your forehead is what you think, how your thoughts are in accordance with. Revelation 19:16, on his robe and on his thigh, this is Yeshua, he has a new name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, because that's who he is. He is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Okay, I don't think that he's going to have King of Kings, Lord of Lords written on his thigh in Hebrew. Maybe he will, but that's not what this is making allusion to. Revelation 22, 1-4 says, "And he showed me a river of water of life, clear as crystal, coming from the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. In the middle of the street and on either side of the river was the tree of life, which bore 12 fruits, each tree yielding its fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. And no longer shall there be any curse, and the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him. And they shall see his face." Okay, this is in eternity, or it's in the kingdom at least. "And his name upon their foreheads." Okay, these things make more sense. It's like, well, what does it mean that they've got his name on their foreheads? Isaiah 65, 11-15. "But you are those who forsake Yehovah, who forget my set-apart mountain, who prepare a table for Gad, and who fill a drink offering for many." And just while I'm on the subject of Gad, that's not where the term God comes from. It's just the English word for Elohim. It's not bad to say God. It's not a reference to this God, Gad. Nobody presents any evidence for that because there is none. "And I shall allot to you the sword, and let you bow down to the slaughter, because I have called, and you did not answer. I spoke, and you did not hear, and you did evil before my eyes, and chose that in which I did not delight. Therefore, thus said the Master Yehovah, see my servants eat, but you hunger. See my servants drink, but you thirst. See my servants rejoice, but you are put to shame. See my servants sing for joy of heart, but you cry for sorrow of heart, and wail for breaking of spirit. And you shall leave your name as a curse to my chosen." Okay, they're not going to leave their physical name or the thing that they're called as a curse to their chosen. They're going to leave their name. And what is their name? Their name is that they forsake Yehovah. They forget his set-apart mountain. They prepare a table for foreign gods and offerings for them. Okay, when he called, they didn't answer. When he spoke, they did not hear. Okay, they did evil before his eyes, chose that in which he did not delight. That's the name that is going to be left as a curse to his servants. "For the Master Yehovah shall put you to death, and call his servants by another name." Okay, this reference to them now being called by another name. Not that they will have another name. In order for them to be his servants, they have to have another name. But at this point, he'll call them by another name too. Elohim said to him, "I am El Shaddai." Okay, remember what he said to Yaakov, to Yitzhak, to Abraham. "I was not known by Yehovah." They all knew his name was Yehovah, but they knew him, who he was, as El Shaddai. That's who he was in their lives. Okay, they didn't know him as him who was, who is, and is to come. They didn't have that knowledge of who he was. They had this knowledge of him, though. "Bear fruit and increase, a nation and a company of nations shall be from you. Kings come from your body. The land which I gave to Abraham and Yitzchak, I give to you and to your seed after you. I give this land." Okay, this is how they know him as El Shaddai, not just because he told them, "I am El Shaddai," because of what he does. Elohim went up from him in the place where he had spoken with him. And Yaakov set up a standing column. And the word there is matzeva, of stone in the place where he had spoken with him. A monument, and the word there is matzeva. It's a different word. It's obviously derived from this word. This is the word that we will look at, though. Of stone. He poured a drink offering on it, and he poured oil on it. And we've got to ask ourselves, was this a good thing that Yaakov did at this point? He sets up this matzeva to Yehovah. Is that a good thing that he does? Well, Yehovah used it for good. Okay, we've got a great picture here of Yeshua being the cornerstone that was anointed with oil, being the Mashiach, the anointed one. But was it actually good? Genesis 28:18-19, we see this as well when he's on the way. Yaakov rose early in the morning and took the stone that he had put at his head and set it up as a matzeva and poured oil on top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel. However, the name of that city had been Luz previously. Previously, all that it was about was almond tree. But after that, he calls it by that name because that's now what it is. Exodus 23:24, we see this word. Do not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do according to their works, but without fail overthrow them, and without fail break down their matzeva. Okay, the matzeva, in the context of foreign god worship, is not a good thing. Deuteronomy 7:5, but this is what you do to them, break down their altars and smash their matzeva, and cut down their asherim, and burn their carved images with fire. Okay, so again, in the context of foreign god worship, it's not a good thing. Is it a good thing if we take it and do it to Yehovah though? Guard yourself that you are not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire about their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Let me do so too. Do not do so to Yehovah your Elohim. For every abomination which Yehovah hates, they have done to their gods. So Jacob doesn't know about this. He doesn't know about the Torah. He's not being disobedient. But we never see Yehovah ask for a matzeva to be set up in his name. Okay, the matzeva are actually bad things that the pagans did, which is, I imagine, where Jacob had it in his consciousness. Leviticus 26 verse 1 says, do not make idols for yourselves. Do not set up a carved image or a matzeva for yourselves. Do not place a stone image, a maskith, in your land to bow down to it. For I am Yehovah your Elohim. What we have when we look at the word image, because often this word matzeva is an image that it's set up. In the actual language, we've got many different words. An elil for idols, a pekel for this particular image, a maskith for this particular image. Here it's translated as pillar. It could just as well be translated as image, a matzeva, that they're not to set up. Deuteronomy 4:15-16 says, therefore diligently guard yourselves, for you saw no form when Yehovah spoke to you at Chorev out of the midst of the fire, lest you should do corruptly and make for yourselves a carved image in the form of any figure. Okay, so this word, pekel, okay, you didn't see any form. Don't set up a pekel in the form of any figure. So we can get pekel set up in the form of a figure. This is an important word because this is leading to something that is interesting to us. If we look at that in the Septuagint, it says, lest ye transgress and make to yourselves a carved image. The word there is icon. Hebrew word pekel, Greek word icon. See where else this is used. And he set the graven icon, the molten statue, again it's a statue, this thing, in the form of a person, the idol which he made. Isaiah 40:19, has not the artificer made an icon? Okay, so when he makes these statues, he's made an icon. Okay, so these things are in the form of people, they're like statues. That's what an icon is. Daniel 3 verse 1, we see this word used, and this is extremely interesting for us when we look at prophecy. In his 8th year, Nebuchadnezzar, the king, he makes this thing, he makes a golden icon. Okay, so we've got this prophetic picture here. Okay, and what do we know about this icon that he makes? Anybody who will not worship this icon will be killed. So he makes this icon. In Revelation 13:11-15, it says, I saw another beast coming up out the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. And he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he does great signs, so that he even makes fire come down from heaven on the earth before men. And he leads astray those dwelling on the earth because of the signs which he was given to do before the beast, saying to those dwelling on the earth, He says to them to make an icon. Just like Nebuchadnezzar made an icon. He says to them to make an icon to the beast who was wounded by the sword, yet lived. Nebuchadnezzar, when he made it, again, it was this huge statue, this image. Okay, but when we understand what this type of image is, we understand what's actually going on here. Verse 15 says, and there was given to him to give a spirit to the image. Often it says life to the image, but it's not. It's the Greek word for spirit. It was given to him to give a spirit to the icon of the beast. That icon of the beast should both speak and cause to be killed as many as would not worship the icon. Okay, so a spirit is given to this image, this icon, so that it comes alive and it speaks and it causes to be killed as many as would not worship this icon, just as in Daniel. So Genesis 35:15 says, and Yaakov called the name of the place where Elohim spoke with him, Bethel. Then they set out from Bethel, and it came to be, when there was but a little distance to go to Ephrath, that Rachel began to give birth, and had difficulty giving birth. And it came to be, as she was having great difficulty giving birth, that the midwife said to her, do not fear, for it is another son for you. And it came to be, as her life was going out, for she died, that she called his name Ben-Oni, meaning son of my sorrow. But his father called his name Binyamin, son of the right hand. So you can see how they are calling things according to the way that they see that thing. His mother called him son of my sorrow because to her that's what he was. To his father, though, this is what he was. So Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is Beth Lechem, house of bread. And if there's any causality there between what happened when Yaakov was on his way back from Laban's house, and he said, you know, whoever the household gods are found with, may they die. You know, this is like maybe 20 years after that event, so I'm not sure that we can really draw causality from it, but it's certainly interesting that Yaakov speaks those words, and now we find a point being made of Rachel dying. Verse 20 says, and Yaakov set a matzeva on her grave. Okay, one of these standing images that they made to the pagan gods, which is a matzeva of Rachel's grave to this day. And Yisrael set out and pitched this tent beyond the Tower of Ada. It strikes me as funny how they've translated this, because they haven't translated Ada, which means flock, but they have translated tower. Really, it should be Tower of the Flock or Migdal Eder. We see often these double-barreled Hebrew names, and they mean things like this, like Padan Aram means field of Aram. This is the Tower of the Flock, or the Migdal Eder. It came to be when Yisrael dwelt in that land that Reuven went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. Yisrael heard about it. Now the sons of Yaakov were 12. It's interesting that it just kind of drops this detail in. It's almost like this will be important for later. We'll just give you this piece of information because you're going to need to know it in a little bit. The sons of Leah were Reuven, Yaakov's firstborn, Shimon and Levi and Yehudah and Yissachar and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel were Yosef and Binyamin. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's female servant, were Dan and Naphtali. And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's female servant, were Gad and Asher. And these were the sons of Yaakov who were born to him in Padan Aram. It's interesting. Okay, it says that these were the sons that were born to him in Padan Aram. What we've just seen, though, is Binyamin was actually born to him after. So I don't really know what's going on there. It just kind of struck me as weird. Yaakov came to his father Yitzchak at Mamre, Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Yitzchak had dwelt. And the days of Yitzchak were 180 years. So Yitzchak breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people, aged and satisfied of days. And his sons Esav and Yaakov buried him. Now what we're going to look at is the bringing forth. If you remember the word toldot means the things that were brought forth of Esav. And we'll be coming to a close after we've looked at his genealogy, or the bringing forth of Esav. Well, I want you to notice it makes a particular note, and it does this throughout Torah. It's like, this is Esav, who is Edom. Esav, who is Edom, who is Edom, who is Edom. We see it all the way through the scriptures. Esav took his wives from the daughters of Canaan. Adah, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite, and Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zevon, the Hivite. And Basmath, Yishmael's daughter, sister of Nebaioth. I read this and I thought, that's interesting. Okay, because what it says is Esav took his wives from the daughters of Canaan. But then it goes on and lists Basmath, Yishmael's daughter, as one of those wives. It's just bizarre. It lists their lineage, the daughter of these people, Yishmael's daughter. But it lists them all as daughters of Canaan. And when I noticed that, I thought, well, that puts it in a completely different light, doesn't it? What we read in Genesis 28, 6-9. Esav saw that Yitzchak had blessed Yaakov and sent him away to Padan Aram to take himself a wife from there. And that as he blessed him, he gave him a command saying, do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. And that Yaakov had obeyed his father and his mother and had gone to Padan Aram. And Esav saw that the daughters of Canaan did not please his father Yitzchak. And Esav went to Yishmael and took Macheleth, the daughter of Yishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife, besides the wives he had, besides the other daughters of Canaan that he had. He saw that it didn't please his father. He saw that he blessed Yaakov and sent him off, and then he saw that this didn't please his father. So what does he do? He goes off and takes a wife who is one of the daughters of Canaan. It's just bizarre, but it does fit in with the idea of who Esav is, as the spiritual significance of Esav compared to Yaakov. Yaakov, who does what pleases his father and is blessed because of it, and Esav's reaction to those things. So I don't know if that's true or not. It could just be that it's parsed differently in the Hebrew, but it certainly didn't seem to be that way when I looked through. It seemed to be that Yishmael's daughter was listed as one of the daughters of Canaan, perhaps through her mother, okay, however that works out. And Adah bore Eliphaz to Esav, and Basmath bore Reuel, and the Aholibamah bore Yaush, and Yalam, and Korach. These were the sons of Esav who were born to him in the land of Canaan. And if that just doesn't instantly make sense to you, that's how it actually plays out. Okay, so we've got Esav, and he takes 3 wives, maybe of the daughters of Canaan, Adah, Aholibamah, and Basmath. Okay, and these are the children that each of those has. And Esav took his wives and his sons and his daughters and all the souls of his household and his herds and all his beasts and all his possessions which he had gained in the land of Canaan, and went away to a land away from the presence of his brother Yaakov. So it's interesting. Yaakov says, you go on before me, you lead on. I'll get there eventually. I'll go at my own pace because of this concern and because of that concern. I'll get there to Seir. Never gets there to Seir. The next time that Yaakov and Esav are united, Esav goes away from the presence of Yaakov, which is what is said to happen to those who do not know Elohim and do not obey the gospel, that they will be destroyed from his presence. For their possessions were too great for them to dwell together, and the land of their sojournings could not support them because of their herds. So Esav dwelt in Mount Seir. Again, Esav is Edom. And these are the bringing forths of Esav, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir. Okay, so that was what happened to him in the land of Canaan. This is what happened after he went away to Seir. These were the names of Esav's sons: Eliphaz, son of Adah, wife of Esav, and Reuel, son of Basmath, wife of Esav, who was Yishmael's daughter. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Sepho, Gatam, and Kenaz. And Timnah was the concubine of Eliphaz, Esav's son, and she bore Amalek okay, of the Amalekites, who they came from, to Eliphaz. These were the sons of Adah, Esau's wife. And it's interesting because this guy is mentioned in the book of Job as one of Job's friends. And I went into it in, I think it was the Torah portions 2015 to 16, when I was talking about Bilam, whatever Torah portion that is. If you want more information on how these descendants of Esau are perhaps the ones who Job came from. But Eliphaz is mentioned as Job's friend, and Amalek comes from Eliphaz, Job's friend. These were the sons of Reuel, Nachath and Zerach, Shema and Mizah. These were the sons of Basmath, Esau's wife, again the daughter of Ishmael. These were the sons of Aholivamah, Esau's wife, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zephon. And she bore to Esau Yeush and Yalam and Korach. Hey, these were the chiefs of the sons of Esau. Okay, now this is quite weird. It just listed all of his descendants. Now it says that these are the chiefs, and the word really means to be the leaders. These were the leaders among the people. The sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau, were Chief Teman, Chief Amar, Chief Zepho, Chief Kenaz, Chief Korach, Chief Githam, Chief Amalek. These were the chiefs of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. They were the sons of Adah. These were the sons of Reuel, Esau's son, Chief Nachath, Chief Zerach, Chief Shema, Chief Mizah. These were the chiefs of Reuel in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Basmath, Esau's wife, again the daughter of Ishmael. These were the sons of Aholivamah, Esau's wife, Yeush, Yalam, and Korach. These were the chiefs descending from Aholivamah, Esau's wife, the daughter of Anah. And this is interesting. These were the sons of Esau, who is Edom. Again, these were the leaders. It's quite interesting because you've got Esau here. These are Esau's direct descendants on this tier here. But his direct descendants never became the leaders, apart from these three who came from Aholivamah. You've got all of his grandchildren being made into the chiefs there, and all of his grandchildren being made into the chiefs there, but only his direct descendants being made there. And there's a number of things in this genealogy that are just worth pointing out that I don't necessarily understand. These were the sons of Seir, the Horite. Now we think, oh, he came from Seir, from Mount Seir. You know, Mount Seir, where Esau's from. We tend to miss that Seir was a fella. Okay, these were the sons of Seir, the Horite. So when we hear of Seir, we're talking about this fella, the Horite, who inhabited the land. Lotan and Shoval and Zephon and Anah and Dishon and Eitzer and Dishan. These were the leaders of the Horites, the sons of Seir, in the land of Edom. So you've got these two people again who are coming together, and I imagine that they intermarried. And the sons of Lotan were Huri and Chiman, Lotan's sister, and Timnah. Okay, and that's what that looks like, all the guys that came from this. Then we get all these kind of weird branches off this. These were the sons of Shoval, Alvan, and Manachath, and Eval, Shapho, and Onam. Okay, they all came from this son. These were the sons of Sivon, both Ayah and Anah. You looked at the word Anah as Anah to prayer, an answer to prayer. This was the Anah who found the water in the wilderness as he fed the donkeys of his father the Sivon. You know the one. What a weird thing for it to say. Okay, so from Sivon, we've got Ayah and Anah. This guy was the guy that found the wilderness found the water in the wilderness for the donkeys. These were the children of Anah, Dishon and Aholivamah, the daughter of Anah. Not the same Aholivamah that was Esau's wife, a descendant. Okay, so now we stop going along here. We start hearing about this guy who was obviously so important because he was the fellow that found the water. And start hearing about his descendants. These were the sons of Dishon, Chimdan, and Eshban, and Yithran, and Kiran. Okay, again, we start going along the Dishon now, all these guys here. These were the sons of Eitzer, Bilhan and Zaawan and Akan, this son. These were the sons of Dishon, Uts and Aran, okay, from Dishon. These were the chiefs of the Horites, Chief Lotan, Chief Shoval, Chief Zivon, Chief Anah, Chief Dishon, Chief Eitzer, Chief Dishon. These were the chiefs of the Horites, according to their chiefs in the land of Seir. So all of his sons were made leaders, and obviously the fellow that found the water in the wilderness as well had to be a leader. What I'd encourage people to do is, if you go on blueletterbible.org and you go through these verses, click on the verse and go to the actual name of the person. Click on that and then go and look at all of the times that it's used throughout Scripture, because you'll then be able to see the other things that are mentioned of these people. It's quite an interesting study. These were the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned over the children of Israel. And Bela, the son of Beor, reigned in Edom. Okay, Bilam is the son of Beor also. And the name of his city was Dinhavah. And Bela died, and Yovav, son of Zerach. Okay, and again in that teaching I looked at this being linked to the guy Job. Okay, son of Zerach of Botzrah reigned in his place. And Yovav died, and Husham of the land of the Temanites reigned in his place. And Husham died, and Hadad, son of Bedad, who smote the Midian in the field of Moab, reigned in his place. And the name of that city was Avith. And Hadad died, and Samlah and Matzikah reigned in his place. Okay? Very bizarre. These are the kings of Edom, all of these guys, and it feels it important to give us this genealogy, that these were all the kings. And as I say, I think the reason that it finds it important to just give us these randomly or seemingly random pieces of information is because we know Bilam was also son of Beor, and we know who this guy is, who was friends with Eliphaz, or contemporary with Eliphaz. And Shaul died, and Baal Hanan, son of Achbor, reigned in his place. And Baal Hanan of Achbor died, and Hadar reigned in his place. And the name of his city was Pau, and his wife's name was Mahed of Tavel, the daughter of Matred, the daughter of Meitzahav. These were the names of the chiefs of Esav according to their clans and their places and their names. Chief Timnah, Chief Alvah, Chief Yethath, Chief Aholibamah, Chief Elah, Chief Panon, Chief Kenaz, Chief Teman, Chief Miptzah, Chief Magdiel, Chief Aram. These were the chiefs of Edom, according to their dwelling places in the land of their possession. Again, Esav was the father of the Edomites. So, we're at an end. As I say, I'd recommend that everyone go back and have a look at Blue Letter Bible, because you'll learn to use Blue Letter Bible and you'll learn to study these things out for yourself. If you just start somewhere simple like this, the names of all of this seemingly random genealogy that we've been through here. Shall we pray? Father, I pray that you'd reveal to us if there's anything in our hearts that's of Esav. Pray that if there's any lack of reverence in our hearts for you, that you help us to see it. I thank you that you're compassionate and that you bear with us through these things. I pray for anyone who's listening to this as well, Father, that you'd speak to them through it, and you'd show them the seriousness of the situation, living out their lives before you. I just pray that you'd help us all to come closer to you and to be more like you. Father, I'm sorry for the things that your people have done before you, and the tat that people want to come and present before you as if it's worthy of the things that you've done. I pray, Father, that you would remember that we are just dust, and that you'd help us to do better in the future. Thank you, Father. Amen.